Throwing it! Let's go. Throwing it! It can deal with later. I gotta lock in. I gotta lock in. Inside China's torture camp for teens. This video discusses suicide, violence, abuse inflicted upon children. Please take care when watching.
A crisp morning in February 2013. A teenager from northern China wakes up to fervent rapping on his door. Let's call him Doug. Doug is in his final year of high school.
So previous night, me and my parents will have a pretty big fight.
They'd had the same fight a million times already, about what university Doug was going to go to and what career option he was going to pursue, about why he was more interested in drumming than in studying. It was heated and everyone went to bed angry. But even when Doug's parents are angry, they don't ever knock this way. Blurry-eyed, he opens the door and sees two strange men dressed in ordinary clothes.
They claim they are police. They're saying, okay, do you know this person? Blah, 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 which is a name I never heard of. He said he is in trouble. He got picked up yesterday. And he said, you are his culprit, like a partner in crimes. And they said I was required to go with them to assist.
No. No. What? They're knocking on your bedroom door, you open up and they're like, hey, you were a part of this crime. Shut. I mean, China has different rules, so I don't know how that works. In the US, fuck off. Fuck no. And fuck no. Come back later.
Some investigation.
Doug has no idea what they're talking about. He's starting to panic a little because he's used the VPN to access YouTube to watch drumming tutorials. They take him to their car.
Oh, and he could get in trouble for that? You could get in trouble in China for using a VPN to watch drumming tutorials?
A regular Jeep, not an official police car. The men explain that they did this on purpose to save him the embarrassment of being seen being taken away by the police. So, Doug gets in the car. But when they start driving...
He didn't, like, check with his parents? I feel like I'd be like... If they're in the same house as you, I'd be like, you wake your mom and dad up. Be like, do you know these guys? Like, how did they get inside? How were they here?
They go right past the local police station.
Dude, that's literally kidnapping.
30 minutes later, in another part of the city, they pull into an enclosed compound with a tall green gate. Doug has the sinking feeling that the men were lying. They aren't police at all. He feels he won't leave this compound for quite a while. It's a special place for kids with behavioral problems. One of many.
They're sending him to a camp because he wanted to play the drums?
Each with their own ever more cruel practices to force teenagers into obedience. What exactly is happening at these schools?
Oh my god, isn't this, what the Breakout 13 game we played was based on? Where they, like, would send kids that were, like, obsessed with technology or something to one of these camps?
They allowed to exist. And what does World of Warcraft have to do with it all?
World of Warcraft has to do with it? I'm skipping the intro.
China in the early aughts. A windowless room underground, dark, except for the flickering of screens. It smells like cigarettes, instant noodles, and teenage boys. Keyboards clack, computers whir. There's occasional yelling, but nobody's arguing. Everyone is in their own world. For many across the country, this place, the Internet Cafe or Wangba, is home away from home. As the country grows wealthier, internet usage increases dramatically, especially among the young. Teenagers.
Isn't there like a legal limitation now on how much time a kid in China can spend on a video game? Like, they limited a lot of it, and so like the competitive gameplay scene in or like video game scene in China has like drastically dropped, and they've lost like a shitload of money just because they've lost the majority of their audience they can market to. They did that for Fortnite. Yeah, it's like screen time. It's like screen time, but like on all video games.
Spent more and more time in 24-hour Wangba, and their parents, who were raised before the country's tech revolution, just don't get the appeal. How could their kids be more interested in World of Warcraft than getting ahead in school, playing sports, and even dating? Parents are
Because World of Warcraft is fun. Not for me. I don't think that shit's fun, but it used to be fun in the 2000s when that was like the only video game out.
growing seriously worried. China is an increasingly competitive society. Many see good grades as the only ticket to a successful future, and the internet makes more and more negative headlines in the country. Teenagers setting a deadly fire to an internet cafe for being denied entry. Teens apparently dying of exhaustion after 20-hour sessions. A moral panic over the dangers of the internet is
Bro, but how many people are pulling 20-hour fucking gaming days? That's the problem, dude. Is like they always news headlines just manipulate media. I mean, it's the same thing with social media manipulating itself and the effect of like how you title things and what news gets reported and what doesn't. But anybody remember when school shootings really ramped up? And this was probably like, I don't know, 10 years ago. Like I was probably 11 or 12 when this happened. And they were trying to blame school shootings on Call of Duty. And there was like a mass push by like a bunch of stupid fucking parents trying to say that like violent video games caused school shooters, and that just can't be further from the truth, because they would try and link like school shooters that played video games together, and it's like, okay, yeah, a few school shooters that shot up a school played Call of Duty, but every kid plays Call of Duty. So trying to make the correlation that like, oh, if you play Call of Duty, you're a school shooter. No. Do some school shooters play COD? Yeah, but does that mean if you play Call of Duty, you're gonna fucking kill people? No. Like, it's so inaccurate, but the way media, like, portrays it is like, hey, new school shooter talked about loving Call of Duty. Immediately, people are like, oh my god, my kid's gonna be a serial killer.
5. A Beijing judge states that over 90% of crimes
That's what COD means? Call of Duty. Yeah, what? What did you think COD meant? You've lived your entire life and you didn't know what COD stand for?
committed by under 18s were because of the internet. A pretty wild guess, considering that at that point only 10% of the nation is even online. By 2006, the Central Committee of the Communist Youth League proclaims that internet addiction is a severe social problem that could threaten the nation's future. The government claims that internet addiction is now the #1 public health threat to its teenage population. Something must be done. Now that it's not 2006, we're all aware that knowing your way around a computer won't hurt your career prospects. And the internet offers
There's about to be an ad. There's about to be an ad. There's about to be an ad.
millions, thousands of lessons are proven. So unregistered cafes crop up, known as dark Wangba. The government tries implementing controls that kick kids off of games when they've played too long. But teenagers are crafty and can often find ways around restrictions.
So they just say, well, I guess we have to start a concentration camp of sorts. Oh, we tried to kick them off the video game after they played too long. Well, I guess we got to send them to a camp where they'll get tortured. I guess that was the last resort.
Bigger, more comprehensive approach is needed. In 2008,
well, hands off. I guess we got to send them away. Like, what?
Internet addiction, or Wang Yin, officially becomes a clinical disorder. For years, China was the only country to pathologize internet usage in this way. The official consequences of this disorder are listed as a loss of control over time spent online, a lack of friends, bad grades, and eventually murder or suicide. But in practice,
murder? Being obsessed with the internet, you're guaranteed gonna kill someone.
its status as a disorder doesn't mean it's diagnosed.
Being obsessed with the internet's definitely not great, but being obsessed with the internet it's not necessarily leading towards something that's bad.
With much scientific rigor. Internet addiction is not measured by the hard number of hours kids spend online, for example. Symptoms like depression, fainting, and anorexia are all enough to get a kid a diagnosis. If your parents don't like who you're dating, you too could be diagnosed as an internet addict. Really, anything socially undesirable might fall under the internet addiction umbrella. In this climate, the state-run broadcaster CCTV releases a bombshell documentary, Fighting the Internet Demon, Who Turned Our Geniuses into Beasts. It condemns online games like World of Warcraft as digital heroin, It aims to raise a
Bro, you know what would have been crazy, though, is if the Chinese population started playing competitive games when this happened and started making a shitload of money from it, the whole outlook on it would have probably drastically shifted. Like, the reason China didn't like these video games is because they were using it as kind of like a free time, this is what I want to do for fun. But if there was like even a small sample of people that were getting like really rich playing competitive games, it would be seen as like an honest, thing to do.
awareness about internet addiction as a widespread social problem. And most importantly, it glorifies the virtues of a very particular kind of treatment. Military-style boot camps that will rehabilitate kids with a tough love combo of therapy, medication, and physical training. The first camp...
How is that gonna fucking make you hate World of Warcraft? That's what I'm not understanding this. They're saying, you like playing video games? Go to fucking boot camp where we're gonna drug and beat the shit out of you for a bit. And then when you come back, you're not gonna want to play it anymore. Yes, the fuck they will, unless you put that like some sort of negative connotation that they're gonna get hurt if they play video games.
Was set up in 2006 near Beijing by a famed colonel in the People's Liberation Army, Tao Run. Tao Run is celebrated for his work in rehabilitating drug addicts at similar boot camps.
They're the same as heroin addicts. Bro, like, okay, maybe there's some people that went here that were like actually addicted to video games. Bro, I guarantee you half the people that pulled up to this were just like, yeah, I play like COD at night. Yeah, no, I'll queue like a few CS:GO matches at night instead of studying. These people are just like heroin addicts. We have to treat them as such. It's like giving a junkie a heroin needle.
For Tao, the internet is just another drug. He's quoted in the New York Times at the time saying, "The effects are the same. Some addicts drop out of school, some mug people for money, steal and sell their family's things to keep playing games. Some end up killing themselves because they feel life has no point." With so much fear-mongering rhetoric floating around, parents across China are clutching their pearls. The internet really is a demon turning their geniuses into beasts. But this kindly colonel, who had such great results in rehabilitating drug addicts, is fortunately here to help. The boot camps become a popular answer to parents at their wits' end. Sometimes they are characterized as schools, centers, or clinics as well, depending on their approach. But in either case, they are mainly for the
Bro, and they force you to stay there. Like, if they sent me here and it sucked, I'd just be like, okay, I'll stop playing Valorant if you let me go home. And they're gonna be like, no, you're not cured yet. How do they know when you're cured? Are they gonna put like a PC in front of you with a fucking gold 3 Val account already logged in, ready for you to play? Or is that like how do they determine whether or not you're over your internet addiction? It's not like crack where like they let you go and then see if you like actually end up like fucking relapsing. Like, how do they determine this? Dude, this just seems like a hamster experiment. This is insane. GTA 6 just dropped. You could have the first copy. I wouldn't be able to resist that. I think that would be up there on whether or not, like, if they put me through a boot camp, but at the end of the boot camp they had like a TV screen and they were like, you could play GTA 6 before everybody else, I'd be like, but you're gonna have to go through all this shit for another week. I'd be like, I might contemplate it.
The majority are very expensive for the average Chinese person, and being relatively cheap to run, they are also highly lucrative. The majority have been opened up by former Chinese army officers. The fighting the
Why
internet...
not just send them to the military? As an alternative, we're putting them through a boot camp, but when they leave, they succeed in nothing. Like, why not just be like, all right, you're in the military now. Some of them are too young.
In the Shandong district in eastern China. It's run by a psychiatrist named Yang Yongxin, who proclaims he's on a holy crusade to cure internet addiction. He's been honored with a special grant from the state
Yeah, he's just trying to make a fucking bag, bruh. You already know his dumbass plays video games at night.
government for his unusually
First Town Hall 12 and fucking Clash of Clans.
effective methods. Many people call him Uncle Yang, out of gratitude and affection for his services and dedication. But in some circles, perhaps those who've spent time with him in Room 13, good old Uncle Yang is known.
This is literally the game! Oh my god, Room 13, Breakout 13. This is literally the game where they would electrocute people to fucking stop them from playing fucking video games. Oh my god, this is literally the fucking guy from the video game.
Known as a sadistic mass torturer.
Yeah, they fucking shock you. What is Room 13? I played this game way back called Breakout 13. It was an FMV game, which basically reenacted this, and it like followed a kid that had to go to one of these places. I didn't know it was this accurate, but there actually is a room in the game, and in real life, apparently, there's a Room 13 where they would electrocute you, basically, for like minute things to try and change your ways.
Back in 2013, Doug finds himself in an enclosed compound. Officially, Doug's camp is called a vocational school.
I was required to partake in the formal routine, which is waking up in 7 a.m. There's morning exercise, which is like jogging, marching speed, marching pace around the schoolyard, which is kind of like a prison. It's like a boot camp / private run juvenile correction facility /
Dude, I mean, do you think the parents that were sending them there knew that it was this bad?
At these places, internet addiction often acts as a type of catch-all umbrella for undesired behaviors. Behaviors these institutions aim to correct. All across China, parents fed up.
I feel like the parents probably sent them there, but it was probably marketed to the parents as kind of like more just a camp rather than like a torture camp.
With their kids will orchestrate kidnappings and deliver them to drill sergeants and dodgy psychologists. Luckily, Doug is not in the care of Uncle Yang. He'll never set foot in Room 13. But that doesn't mean this new school of his won't scar him for life.
And they explained to me, you're here because your parents think you are on the edge, that you need to be sent here to correct your behavior.
He doesn't know how to feel about the fact that his parents sent him here. Are their family problems really grounds for getting locked up?
I feel angry, I feel helpless, and I wanted to run, but at that point I was still shocked and too confused to know what's going on. I thought, like, where is this place? Why am I here? I asked them, can I leave? They said, you're not free to leave, and don't even try to run, because when you try it, we will tackle you down, and you will be watched 24/7.
Bro, I'd haul ass the fuck out of there. They're gonna keep me there. You ain't the feds. What the fuck?
And I was
They're
like,
just gonna. This is literally kidnapping.
okay, I don't want to suffer any physical damages, so I just complied to whatever they said. I just followed exactly what they told me.
Doug
They
describes
can't kill you. Yeah, but they can torture your ass. Like that's the problem. Is it's like you're still not in it. They're in the position of power, even though what they're doing. I mean, in China is probably legal, but here I don't know. Like you wouldn't be able to do that. But I mean, where they are, if they want to fucking beat the shit out of you, they're gonna beat the shit out of you. You can't just be like, well, you're not gonna hurt me. They will.
the school as 5 stories high, barricaded by a tall green gate. The compound is surrounded by a 3-meter wall topped with iron wire. Inside the facility, Doug quickly becomes absorbed into the grueling, repetitive activities. While we couldn't independently verify all of the details of his particular camp and experiences there, his account is very similar to the many testimonies of other former detainees of similar camps. Doug describes an ongoing cycle of military-style drills, mandatory therapy, and pointless lessons where the teacher would just hit play on the VCR. Like any prison, the food is terrible. And as Doug describes it, hygiene standards are also questionable. Though the detainees are constantly doing exercise, they're only permitted 1 shower per week. He has no contact with his family, his friends, or the outside world in general.
1 shower per week? That was a delayed reaction on my end. one shower and they're doing physical activity every day, dude, they're gonna reek, bro. They're gonna smell like fucking ass. And they don't have any of their own clothes. They don't have any of their own fucking, they don't have deodorant probably. They're just gonna fucking smell like ass all the time.
Is surprised that not everyone is a teenager. Some are as young as 6. A few are in
6? Yo, okay. Yo, get a hold of your kid, bruh. What? What fucking dumbass parent? You're sending your 6-year-old kid there? Bro, just take their fucking iPad. Or whatever they have. 6. Like, they can't even rebel. They're just... You have too much iPad time. I'm taking your fucking iPad. And now they don't have their fucking iPad. Right? It's not like they're like a fucking 12-year-old, 13-year-old kid. They're going to be able to fucking do whatever the hell they want. Right? Behind your back or fucking do whatever they... Like, they don't have any sense or capacity to fucking make money or get technology or do whatever. 6.
Doug quickly discovers there's a pecking order amongst the detainees.
Students that's been there longer, who is more acquainted with the rules, putting forth some kind of discipline on other students. And the caretaker would turn a blind eye on what is actually happening. So there is a lot of bullying, there's a lot of physical abuses happening, especially when you are new there. They will try to discipline you.
He says that guards would encourage kids to physically keep each other in line. At one point, an older detainee struggles to keep up with the demands of the drills. As punishment, the caretakers forced other students to drag him around while running. There are ways you can gain approval from the guards, however.
There are Stockholm Syndromes. So everybody is trying to win the favor of the caretaker just in exchange for better conditions. For example, you get certain privileges. You can get more food when you're at the canteen. You get to skip the regular routine to help out in the kitchen, just like that. So at a certain point, there's one guy who is, I think he started this trend by giving the caretaker like a back massage. So everybody just kind of follows him, like, hey, would you like a massage? We can give you that. Unfortunately, I was one of the followers of this trend.
The overall experience was deeply traumatizing, but Doug sees
So they would do shit? I mean, that's just like the game. They would do shit just for favors. So the guards would either help them or not punish them if they did something wrong.
some merits in it.
I was there mainly because of my disputes between me and my parents. So I was lucky to got a very experienced therapist assigned to me. So we have in-depth exchange. It helped a lot. I think that was the only part that helped.
Overall, he considers himself lucky, if in a cynical way.
Fucking tell the therapist to get me the fuck out of there. What? I'm gonna look at the therapist and I'm gonna say they're fucking torturing me. What is that bitch gonna go? Oh, I know. What the fuck?
His experience was brutal. Kids were beaten up in front of him, psychologically abused by former military guards/caretakers. He was locked up without contact to the outside world for 4 months against his will, none of his friends even knowing what happened to him. But of all these lucrative, poorly regulated camps that sprang up so quickly, his was way less extreme than others. Especially compared to what Uncle Yang was up to.
Dude, but that's like literally... Do you think he actually thought he was helping them? Like, if he's electrocute, like electrical therapy or like actually just fucking torturing people, do you think he thought that like after they got out of the camp they would be better off? They're just gonna have fucking PTSD, dude. You just tortured somebody for like 6 months and then set them on their fucking merry way. Imagine this in America. Well, they wouldn't be able to do this. I mean, they used to have really bad conditions for people with disabilities in like hospitals and shit in the United States. I think that's like maybe an equivalent on how they would abuse people there, but I mean, you can't, those are two kind of incomparable situations.
The psychologist Yang Yong-sin, good old Uncle Yang.
Somebody said like Epstein. That was sex trafficking. Epstein was sex trafficking like kids, not this torturing kids or teenagers to get them not addicted to like video games. I think those are two different things.
Far back as 1999. Back then, computers were rare in China. Uncle Yang's son was very excited to have this new toy that not everyone else had. But then his son started spending more hours playing games than studying. It grew into a problem, and for Uncle Yang, it was clearly something that needed psychiatric support. He started lecturing about the dangers of the internet, which resonated with more and more parents as more and more of their teens got online. In 2006, Uncle Yang was granted a wing at his local hospital to set up the first clinical treatment center for internet addiction. In contrast to Tao Ran's focus on military-inspired discipline, Uncle Yang's approach emphasized medication. He developed a psychiatric treatment that...
But what medication are you going to give somebody that's going to make them not want to fucking play video games? Like, it's going to be some sort of, like, sedative that's going to make them not want to do anything. Like, there's not going to be any sort of medication that's going to keep them productive but remove the aspiration to play video games.
He called brain waking. Both approaches were generally viewed favorably at the time.
Stimulus drugs? Dude, the amount of stimulus drugs people take and then fucking play video games even more. If you fucking gave me Adderall right now, I'd fucking hop off Reacts and start playing video games. That's gonna make me want to play them more.
And both boasted very high success rates. Fighting the internet demon opens with the praise that Uncle Yang's methods were unusually effective. It claims that even the most addicted and rebellious teens would emerge from this treatment room completely cured and apologize to their parents. And for the parents who missed the documentary, there were also frequent commercials running on TV that sang the clinic's praises. By 2009, nearly 3,000 young people were treated with good old Uncle Yang's brain-waking method. First, the patients are forcibly delivered or tricked into the center. Then, their parents are prompted to sign an agreement that...
But can't you just lie? Like, if you see how bad it is, and you have to go to fucking brain-waking with Uncle Yang... Just answer every question how he wants you to answer it, and then you fucking dip.
Relinquishes guardianship for the duration of the treatment. A typical treatment lasts 4 months, costing nearly $900 per month.
Fucking 4 months?
The average monthly salary in China at the time is around $400. That plus high penalties if patients run away or if parents decide to end the treatment before Uncle Yang proclaims the patient as cured. Brain-waking consists of a total detox from the internet, morning lessons, exercise in the afternoon, and a combination of antidepressants, sedatives, and traditional Chinese medicine. The morning lessons are essentially public humiliation sessions, where the patients are collectively criticized to the soundtrack of dramatic music and their sobbing parents. All of that, and frequent trips to Room 13. Room 13 is where the patients are administered Uncle Yang's very special treatment that made him famous. Only patients are allowed in, no parents. The patients are told that if they tell anyone about the method, the treatment won't work and Uncle Yang will have to start over. With the calm conviction of a man who believes he's fighting a holy crusade, Uncle Yang...
Dude, he would just strap fucking electrical strips to their head and fucking shock
attaches
them.
Electrodes to the patient's hands and temples.
Fuck.
It doesn't matter that he's not licensed to administer electroshocks. He's fighting the good fight. The children's minds are unclear, so he needs to use microcurrents to clear them. A mouthguard is inserted to prevent the patient from biting off their tongue. Then, a
It hurts that bad?
skull-rattling shockwave of electricity is shot through the electrodes for several minutes at a time, over the course of about 30 minutes. In the rare, last resort cases that electroconvulsive therapy is still used...
What? For 30 minutes, he just fucking flipped the switch and just shocked the shit out of them? Non-stop?
Nowadays, a shockwave is usually sent for just a few milliseconds, or maximum 1 minute. The patient is under
Can't that, like, permanently fuck up your brain?
general anesthesia and shouldn't feel any discomfort. Not so in the care of Uncle Yang. Here, the pain is part of the treatment, and the shockwaves are often several minutes long. Former patients describe the pain as unimaginable, like a needle inserted into the brain, but far, far worse. Sometimes a shock was said to leave burns. One teenager, Teng Fei, reported to The Guardian that he was given ECT dozens of times in 6 or 7 sessions over the course of just over a month. When he tried to escape room 13, he was given another 30-minute round of shocks.
What the
Teng Fei
fuck?
told his parents about the ECT, who promptly removed him from Uncle Yang's treatment center. They were fined, but glad to have their son out of the clutches of a mad doctor. Other parents were reported.
Well, that's good. The parents, because the parents seem like they don't know at all, like. But the parents believing the kid and taking him out is good.
They also concerned with the methods used, but allowed the treatment to continue so that their children would be released more quickly. The more you
look up wilderness therapy. I've heard about that. Where that they've done in the U.S. where they'll fucking send you out there into the middle of the woods. And you just live with a bunch of other people, and they basically say, like, if you run off, you'll die, so you kind of have to stay with them, or else you're gonna fucking, you're gonna get lost and never come back. Yeah, wilderness therapy is also bad.
Methods and admitted you were wrong and sorry, the sooner you would be considered cured. All Teng Fei wanted was revenge on Uncle Yang. He went online and wrote about his experiences and connected with other victims. In these circles, Uncle Yang became known as the Monster Killer. The online outcry spread fast. Initially, the Chinese World of Warcraft community was in uproar. A wildly popular protest machinima was released, which also criticized censorship and narratives of internet addiction in China at large. Criticism of Uncle Yang then quickly made it to mainstream media. Public perception of his methods shifted and started to be deemed excessive. In July of 2009, China banned electroshock therapy for internet addicts. But that didn't stop Uncle Yang. He skirted the new law by slightly adjusting his methods. He claimed it was not the same as ECT and rebranded it as electronic acupuncture.
It's the same fucking thing!
Despite the bad press, many desperate parents kept sending their kids to him. Up through 2016, he had treated around 6,000 patients. The whole time, Room 13 reportedly was still in operation. Then, it finally, officially closed.
Is he dead?
We could not find out what Uncle Yang is up to today.
Oh. Damn, dude, he might still be working for some shit like that.
By 2017, hundreds of internet addiction boot camps were in operation all over the country. By that time, it was widely known that it's not just Uncle Yang's facility that is abusive. Weibo users were in outrage over the widespread abuse. How could these camps still be open? How could parents still send their kids there despite the onslaught of bad press? There were beatings, and reports of kids ordered to lie on their stomachs all night in snow. A 19-year-old woman died when her treatment consisted of being lifted and dropped. In one famous case, a child died just 2 days after being checked into a camp that promised gentler approaches than the more notorious camps. The boy's body was covered in bruises, and an autopsy confirmed more than 20 external injuries and
And they ain't shut this place the fuck down?
internal
They died?
ones. The exact cause of death was never determined, but the camp was shut down shortly after.
Okay.
The nation was shocked even more when a 16-year-old girl tied her mother to a chair and let her starve, as revenge for placing her in one
She got back and killed her mom?
in one of the camps. One camp came under fire when former detainees revealed that children were repeatedly placed in 10-day solitary confinement. The camp was shut down and the founder was jailed. Solitary confinement is in violation of the China-ratified UN Charter Against Torture. But some camps were not condemned for this practice, most notably the first, Tao Runs, a camp that was funded by the government. In the 2013
Yo, that is actually whack. The government funded that shit.
documentary Web Junkie, Tao Ran's staff is filmed openly discussing the merits of placing children in solitary confinement.
They would lock them
In fairness to China,
and they
it's
had fucking chains on the windows.
not the only country with rehabilitation camps that function more like prisons with widespread abuse and torture. Most notably, the troubled teen industry in the United States is alive and flourishing, despite an ongoing media frenzy around its horrific practices. These are alleged to include beatings, starvation, and solitary confinement. But a key difference is that in China, the camps have stronger ties to the government and military. Duck is in no doubt that the CCP was well aware of how his school operated.
Just for my own safety and well-being,
Well,
I don't
he didn't
think
go
I
to the
can
one with
make
the electrical
any
shocks,
commentary about
but he knew it was
CCP
bad.
itself. But what I can tell you is that almost everywhere, in every education facility, there's got to be a party branch. Any major university, any primary school, either public or private, they got to have a sector.
And there's always the government in on it, dude. That is fucking wild.
Names or addresses and continue to operate. The article claims that after a while, the controversies around abuse were less and less in the media, almost like people wanted to forget about this ugly chapter in recent history. But
Okay, well, it's good most of that's fucking over now. I hope they don't run that shit anymore. The fuck, dude?
former detainees like Duck are still grappling with their experience.
Yeah, dude, that's probably fucking traumatizing for the rest of your life. You gotta fucking stay there for fucking 3 weeks. Not 3 weeks, 3 months. Just getting fucking tortured because you play video games. Tinted and cold for the sub. All right, next.